Today we have the 150 Ancient Shard guaranteed event going on for Staltus Dragonbane or the Dracomorph Killer. This dude is literally wearing Dracomorph, like that's Dracomorph, a not so alive Dracomorph. He is Force Affinity, Dracomorph's magic. His passive ability literally counters Dracomorph, like it's specifically targeted at Draco. So this dude was set out on a mission to destroy Dracomorph, and that he did. So we're gonna go over his kit, go over the champion, talk about the champion. Thundergun, thank you for letting me borrow your account. Fortunately or unfortunately, Thunder has pulled 2 copies of this champion and hasn't even gone for the guaranteed event. So hopefully this will help you guys decide if you should go for it, if you should hold off, or if it's a few weeks down the road, help you decide if you should even build this champion to begin with. So Staltus Dragonbane, let's take a look at his skills first. We'll go over a quick overview. I don't want to get too in depth on him, and then we'll jump into some battles, showcase it, and then spend most of the time in the arena where I think this guy's going to shine the most. So his A1 ability attacks one enemy 2 times. If the target is under any debuff, each hit decreases the turn meter by 10%. Very, very good. Does require accuracy, so keep that in mind when you're building him. He's a hard-hitting champion, does require accuracy, so sometimes juggling those 2 things kind of makes a difficult build. His A2 ability attacks all enemies 2 times. Each hit has a 50% chance, books up to a 65% chance of placing stun for 1 turn. So each hit has a 65% chance of placing stun on a 3-turn cooldown. We have a champion who's very similar. This champion quite literally carries Barbarian's Faction Wars. She's a free champion, but her stun is also all enemies 2 times. Each hit has a 35% chance of placing stun for 1 turn. It's a 3-turn cooldown as well. But Staltus is a 65% chance of placing stun on each hit. So basically this dude is going to be placing stuns basically every single time, okay? If you're building him with accuracy, he's going to be placing a ton of stuns. 3-turn cooldown, very, very good A2 ability. Plus the multipliers, they're actually pretty legit. So now his A3 ability. The order of how this is written is very, very important because places a 60% increased defense on this champion for 3 turns, then attacks all enemies, meaning he buffs, then attacks, versus attacking, then buffing. The other would be bad. This way is great. Also, 100% chance of placing decreased crit damage on champions who would be damage dealers, so their attack is higher than their defense, and then a 100% chance of placing decreased speed on champions who are more of a support. Their defense is higher than their attack. Both of these do require accuracy, so keep that in mind. The 100% chance is only if you got the champion fully booked. His A3 and his A2 are very valuable as far as books go. His A1 ability, if you dodge it, great. I wouldn't worry about those 2 extra books if you're being very conservative. But if you want to use this champion to his full potential, you're going to need, let's see, 5, 9, 10, 11 books, which I mean, for a legendary, not the worst we've seen. Now his passive ability, whenever an enemy attempts to place weaken, decrease defense, or poison, this champion reflects it back to the attacker. So basically, Dracomorph, don't bring him against this guy. Damage increases by 5% for each debuff on the target. And then obviously it increased ally defense in all battles by 30%. This dude's kit is stacked. He's a Force Affinity champion, so he's going to be very good in my opinion on arena defense. Most of your hard-hitting nukers, you have your Trundas, you have your Hefrax. A lot of those champions are magic affinity. Obviously, void affinity champions, champions who ignore defense, they're not going to care about this guy. They're just going to blow through it anyways. But those Trundas, Hefrax, champions like that, they're going to have a hard time with this guy. Now, talking about his A3 ability, I do want to bring to light one thing, okay? This increased defense is especially good for players like Thunder, okay? So Thundergun, he has a lot of good champions. He has a lot of great champions. He has a few copies of Warlord, maybe some copies of Hegemon. Does he have Hegemon? I honestly don't know. But what I do know is that he's missing the champion who is typically the bread and butter for making increased defense nukers actually work, and that is Siphi, however you want to say it. This champion makes increased defense nukers work. However, when you don't have Siphi, you got to bring a champion like Staltus who brings his own increased defense, which is so good. He's buffing himself with a buff that makes him do more damage, and it's on a 3-turn duration. So as far as the masteries go, you could technically, if you want to run this guy as a support build, more of like placing the stuns, placing the debuffs, placing the increased defense on himself, you could just run lasting gifts, 4-turn duration. It's going to be up all the time. Master Hexer for increased duration of those increase or decrease crit damage and decrease speed as well. And obviously you can't extend the duration of the stun, but you could go the support side, maybe go rapid response as well as arcane celerity, make him go faster, so on and so forth. The offense tree, this is what we currently have. I'll hide my webcam. Well, what did I just hide? I don't even know. I'll hide my webcam for just a second if you guys want to see it, but this is a pretty good mastery setup. Now, as far as the champion's gearing actually goes, I'll show you guys what I have him in currently. So we have him in focused on defense percentage, getting good speed, HP, pretty important as well, good crit damage, and then for me, I'm honestly not that worried about having good accuracy. I don't think this champion, if you're using him as a nuker, you want to focus a ton on accuracy. However, sometimes your gearing, the gear options on your account, don't allow you to get a defense banner, an attack banner, whatever you need. So in this case, we do have 96 accuracy coming from the banner. So that puts us at 208 accuracy. Quite honestly, I'd rather get rid of that banner as soon as possible, get another one with better speed. But at the moment, the only defense banners we have don't have much speed. So if we go through and glyph everything with speed, and we can replace this 12 speed we lose when replacing this banner, that'd probably be worth it. I mean, that's going to be an extra almost 500 defense, which is going to be really, really good. Honestly, I may try that out later in the video. We'll get a few places we can glyph speed. We have 1, 2, 3. We have 3 places we can glyph speed. Once we get the new banner, it'll be 4 places. So we can definitely fix that. But I do want his speed to be ideally 165 plus. If you're running Warlord plus Kymar, you don't need to be super fast. The defense, get it as high as you can. Crit damage is very important. And then accuracy is 100% up to the user. If you want to use him as a stun champion, if you want to use him to place those debuffs, then go ahead and build him with accuracy. But if you're just worried about hitting hard, doing a lot of damage, don't build him with accuracy. Especially with the current state of the arena, with Polymorph being such a massive nuisance, placing debuffs is a pretty big liability for your champions because if they place it, they turn to a sheep. So the Draco Slayer becomes a sheep, and he's not that good as a sheep, to be honest. But as far as the blessings, Lightning Cage and Soul Reap, I think are very solid options. I would go Lightning Cage. Lightning Cage is just such an amazing blessing to have. I think it's the way to go for most damage dealers in the arena. Let's go ahead and jump in here. I'll show you guys a damage showcase. He's in Savage plus Cruel, so he's having the max defense ignore. We'll do Dragon Stage 20 because it's going to be strong affinity for him. We'll just go ahead and throw in Staltus. We'll throw him in, and we'll throw him in alongside Lydia. You don't need anything else. No Sifi needed, nothing like that. Where is Lydia? Where is Lydia? Okay, is she hiding? I'm probably just missing her, right? I have to be just missing her. There she is, right there. So Lydia, hopefully she's faster than Staltus. Let's make sure. 237, perfect. So we'll put her in there. He has the increased defense aura on himself. Let's see what he hits for. All right, so we're not going to do several tests. I don't want to waste Thunder's energy. So here we go. Decreased defense and weaken on literally everybody. So his A3, we're going to use that first. His A3 places that increased defense on himself. That hits for 124,000, 150,000. Dang. This dude's not in his best gear whatsoever. 740,000 damage on that A2 ability. That is some crazy damage. Now, for the next one, we're going to have to bring an increased defense champion because his A2 ability does not place the increased defense on himself. So we have to have someone else place it for us. So decreased defense and weaken. Hopefully on everybody. There we go. Everybody has it. We're going to place increased defense on everybody. Increased defense on everybody. And then his A2 ability is going to attack all enemies 2 times. Honestly, I do not expect anybody to be left standing after this hit. Okay, we have 2 people left standing. So his A2 ability hit for... Wait, that's exactly the same. So his A2 and his A3 hit very similar. This is obviously just 1 damage run, 1 damage test. A2, A3, both very hard hitting. 750,000 damage. That's pretty impressive to me. So as far as dungeons, if you're an early game player, if you're a mid game player, if you just started a new account, you pull this guy, this dude is going to be absolutely amazing for you to actually clear content. You're going to build him with accuracy. You're going to build him to hit hard, maybe 200 accuracy, put him in some perception gear, good accuracy, good crit damage, good speed. He's going to be placing so many stuns, locking down those waves, doing so much damage, placing that decreased speed on those tanky support type enemy champions. He's going to carry you probably. He's going to do very, very good in my opinion. If you're a mid-game, late-game player, you're probably not using this guy in dungeons, right? Faction Wars definitely could help you, or most likely could help your run times. I mean, honestly, the Banner Lords has some really good champions, but they're also lacking in a lot of those big damage-dealing champions if you don't have champions like Baron and similar champions like that. So definitely could help you speed up your Faction War times. As far as campaign, It's irrelevant. You're not going to use this guy for campaign. Though actually, he does have two AoE damage dealing skills. So he may actually be decent for campaign. Like, he may actually be relatively fast, to be honest. Especially, I mean, he's going to one-shot everything here. See that little Draco? Did Draco pop out? That's so cool. So, okay, so not good affinity here. He's going to be a little bit slow. The A1 ability hits for both weak hits. Probably do 12-6, honestly. 12-6 is probably where you'd be using this guy if you're going to do it. I mean, Force Affinity does bring with it some issues. Let's YOLO it and try it on Nightmare one time. Just for the heck of it. Sorry, Thunder. This is probably going to be just a waste of your energy right here. Okay, we got some more Spirit Affinity champions. So having a Force champion may not be the best idea, but he can do it. I don't have any doubt in my mind whatsoever that he's going to be able to do this perfectly fine. And this is 12-6. This is Nightmare, right? I think it is. Yeah, there's no way he wouldn't be killing these people any faster. So placing those stuns is actually making this a lot easier. You're locking down the waves. Not too big of an issue. Get some bombs placed on us, but we're dead. Okay, so if we maybe change his build up a little bit, he could definitely do it. But either way, you're probably not using this guy to actually do campaign. Dungeons, possibly, depending on where you're at in the game. One part, he's going to be amazing. Next part, he's going to be a vault champion, okay? So that depends on where you're at in the game. Faction Wars. Depends on where you're at in the game. Depends on your champions. I think I would be using him. I think Thunder's probably going to be using him. He'll most likely speed up most people's runtime. Clan Boss, I don't see any use for him. Hydra, I don't really see any use for him there either. And then Doom Tower, definitely a viable use. I mean, an AoE stun, very, very consistent. Really, that's an amazing debuff. Honestly, stun is probably one of the, if not the best debuffs in the game because it makes them skip a turn. And yeah, they don't have to attack. They can't attack you like provoke. They can't be woken up like sleep. They literally just skip a turn. So those are the areas. Hopefully it's a pretty good breakdown. As far as the gearing goes, we're currently geared towards damage. But if you want to switch it to damage plus a little bit of support, just put some perception, speed gear, accuracy, whatever it may be. Get good accuracy, good damage. You know, champion's going to perform amazing for you. So now we're going to go ahead and jump into some arena matches to see how hard this dude can actually nuke. Here's a Lydia. She can do decreased defense plus weaken. So this is going to be a perfect example of what can happen. So this team is probably, let's just do go second. Honestly, this dude's going to be an amazing go second champion. Let's do Duchess, no Necrit. Let's do Yumiko, and honestly, we're still kind of go first, but this is a random team. We're trying out some champions that I haven't tried out in a long time, or ever, because I don't have them. So everybody's locked out. Lydia places decreased defense and weaken. Tries to. Reflected. So this dude is immune, you could call it, to decreased defense and weaken, which is absolutely crazy. That is so, so good. You have a defense-based champion who can't have decreased defense placed on himself. Unless Ramatu locks out his passive. Then he could. But right now, he can't. So he's going to be sitting at that 5,500 plus defense, whatever you have him at, forever. He's going to be able to nuke perfectly fine. He can get his increased defense stripped, which is something to be aware of. But as far as making him more squishy, as far as making him do less damage, it's not going to happen. The biggest threat to attack-based champions is decreased attack. The biggest threat to defense-based champions is decreased defense, of course. I mean, it makes them squishier, plus it makes them do less damage. But here, you have the Dracomorph Slayer himself not able to be affected by decreased defense, which honestly is a very, very interesting, in my opinion, effect to have. It's very unique. Let's go ahead and use the Arbiter +2 into Warlord, into, I don't even know. I mean, I feel like we have too many good champions here, honestly. No decreased defense. We'll just use these two. We don't need anything else. We don't need Kymar to reset. I think Staltus is going to be perfectly fine by himself. So Warlord, lock everybody out. Staltus, they're not going to kill him. They're not going to kill him, okay? It doesn't even matter. I'm not worried. We may get feared, though. That fear, it may activate. Knowing my luck, it will activate. But if not, let's see what he does. Boom. Increased defense on himself. 80,000 damage with no decreased defense, no weaken, nothing on the enemy. Wow. All right, so now let's go ahead and throw in a team that has, let's see, let's try to find something else. Something like this. Okay, so now we'll use Duchess in here just for the block debuffs, so the Torment doesn't freeze us. We could use Necrit as well, because we can still be affected by freeze, right? Yeah, we just not happened, because he's not protected. There we go. We won't increase turn meter, so Duchess gets a turn. His Duchess is pretty slow, built for plat, which is pretty cool. So now we just wait for that Torment to get a turn. and see what happens from there. So now we just use his A1, I guess, from Warlord. I don't know. I don't use Warlord, so I don't know what to do with him at this point. And then Staltus comes around, and let's see if he absolutely destroys everybody. Remember, there's no decreased defense anywhere on the enemy team, so the decreased defense would make him hit so much harder, but he's currently hitting for 35, 49, so not as crazy of numbers as last time. This is a much more tanky team. We have Duchess, who reduces AoE damage taken by, what, 25%? Pretty crazy. And then, yeah, so that's going to be definitely a huge difference as far as damage, but still, pretty respectable. So now his A2, remember, he's weak affinity against Duchess, so there's going to be weak hits. That's why he's not the best as an offense nuker, because of those weak hits. And because Duchess is so prominent in the meta, it's going to be a little difficult to make him work as an offense-based nuker, but as a defense-based nuker, he can't be decreased defense, which honestly, I'm interested in knowing if he had Polymorph Blessing on himself, would the decreased defense attempt on him cause the other person to get polymorphed? I'd definitely be curious to find that out. If anybody knows, let me know down below. But that'd be pretty cool because you could run him in the lead, increase your entire team's defense. He could never get decreased defense. And then if the enemy tries to lock you out or anything, then they're just going to polymorph themselves or has a very high chance of polymorphing themselves. So Lightning Cage is amazing as far as a blessing. But if polymorph works the way that I think it might, then that would be actually really good as well, especially on defense, because he could just bait out the polymorph because you're not going to run him with resistance. So he's going to get those decreased defense applied to himself and then just polymorph everybody and then have no decreased defense actually applied to him whatsoever, which could be really cool. Definitely could be a very interesting setup potential for him. Just now did a refresh and I want to try out this kind of team. So this player is level 100, 8.6 million player power. So pretty close. We have a 221,000 team power. I'm going to try out a team that's more of a go second style team, and I want to see how well he performs. Now, I do want to use a Warlord. It is a go second, but I want to go ahead and see if we can lock out the enemy. So that'd be pretty cool. If we cut it, actually, no, I don't have a Warlord, and I hate Warlords, so we're not going to use him. We're going to use the Yumiko instead. I mean, she's not quite Warlord, right? She is pretty insane, though. Honestly, it doesn't matter. I just want to see if he takes damage, if he survives perfectly fine. So no decreased defense, and then just comes back and counterattacks the Trunda. Doesn't matter. Perfectly fine. I love it. Absolutely love it. No decreased defense applied to this champion. So as far as a arena defense champion goes, I think he's pretty solid. As far as a defense-based nuker, if you don't have one, or if you don't have a Siphi, and you're looking for a defense-based nuker, he's going to be a very solid option as well. I think he brings a ton of potential as far as a damage dealer. I feel like if you already have a Solus, if you already have a Ragash, that you're probably not going to be using this champion a ton. However, we do have a Force Affinity champion who's very similar as far as being tanky goes to this guy. That is Candrafon. However, Candrafon does have some different synergies. He hits crazy hard on its A1 ability. So it is a lot different than Staltus is. But as far as a Force Affinity champion, especially if you don't have Candrafon, if you're wanting to build some good classic arena defenses, if you want to build some good 3v3 tag team arena offenses or defenses, I think Staltus personally is a champion who is definitely worth building. As far as going for, I can't say necessarily he's worth spending whatever amount of money it is to actually get the shards to get him. 150 shards, I think it's pretty fair if you have them already saved up. But as far as spending the money, that's up to you completely. But as far as his kit in general goes, it brings a lot of different utility. So it brings support type stuff, some stuff to help you clear content, and then transitioning into damage brings some pretty solid uses as far as damage goes. I definitely say this champion, let's go ahead and rate him. We'll go ahead to the in-game ratings, give him a rating. So arena offense, I'd say is probably about 4 or 5. I mean, the only issue is that so many champions run Duchess on their defense. If Duchess wasn't so popular, it'd be a 5. But since Duchess is so popular, I'd say for majority of arena, he's going to be a 5, except for the high end. So we'll say 5. That's pretty fair. Faction Wars, 5 for sure. Absolutely amazing. Campaign, I mean, he does it, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, he does it fine. So by himself in a vacuum, he'd be like a 4 or 5 because he does it. But as far as like compared to other champions, just be a 4. I mean, Felhound does it in 6 seconds. We have better options. Arena defense, I'd say he's a 5. Honestly, I think this is the place he's going to shine significantly. I mean, he can't be decreased defense. That is so good. Dragon's Lair, it's going to be probably a 4. I mean, he's not bad. He's not necessarily amazing. He brings control. He's not going to be in speed teams, but he's going to help you get through the waves. So if you're one of those players who's struggling getting through the waves, he's going to be a great champion. So a 4, it's pretty fair. Minotaur, he's going to be same thing. He could definitely solo Minotaur. Actually, we'll try that in a second. Spider's Den on the strong affinity stages, well, when the Spider strong affinity, so against Spirit Affinity Spider, he could actually tank it. He could probably tank it pretty decent. So a 4 or 5 is probably pretty fair. Plus he brings a stun. So newer players, he'd probably be about a 4. I don't think 3 is necessarily fair. He's not going to speed up the run, so not for speed runs, but he's going to be pretty good, okay? So we'll do very good, I guess. Honestly, 3 may be better. For Fire Knight, I really don't think he brings... Actually, I'll take that back. He does bring that decrease turn meter on the A1, double hit on the A2. So 4 is actually probably pretty fair. Void Keep, I don't care about the keeps. Hydra, I don't think he brings anything especially useful for Hydra. The decreased speed, possibly, but I don't know if any heads he'd actually apply that to. So I'm going to say 3. I mean, he has decent damage. 3 may even be too generous. I really wouldn't bring this guy for Hydra. Unless you're just very, very slim options, I don't think he brings anything that's actually usable for Hydra. So acceptable is probably fair, honestly. Demon Lord, very similar thing to Hydra. These may not be fair, honestly, but you guys can let me know down below your opinions. But for Demon Lord, I don't think he brings anything especially beneficial there either. Yeah, not really. Say acceptable is fine. Ice Golem, probably 4. I mean, he's going to get through the waves. Very tanky. Get you to the Ice Golem. So newer game player is going to find a lot of value in that. Force Keep, don't care. Iron Twins Fortress, not going to bring a whole lot as far as that goes. So Twins Fortress, Magic Keep, and Spirit Keep. But Iron Twins, probably about a 3 or 4. He is going to be tanky, so he can survive for a while. But we'll just say 3. I think that's pretty fair as well. Minotaur, I do want to try that one time, though. Let's see. So Minotaur, I don't see this guy having any issue whatsoever soloing, to be honest. I think he's going to do perfectly fine. I mean, he's a defense-based champion, so he should do no issues whatsoever. You have your brand new solo Minotaur champion, defense-based champion, so he's going to be super tanky. Oh my gosh. Dude is insane. He's actually clearing it way faster than I thought, and he's actually pretty slow as far as speed goes. So if his speed got boosted up to like 200 plus, he could actually be a very, very fast farmer, very, very fast clear champion. So once the Minotaur's buff drops off, it's over. So 25 seconds-ish, let's say. Actually, no, under 30 seconds. So under 30 seconds, wow, that's actually quite impressive. So if you build him, he can solo Minotaur. He can help you in your dungeons. He can clear waves pretty quickly. He's going to do really good in Arena. He's going to do good in Faction Wars. So if those are areas you're looking to improve in, hey, Staltus may be a pretty solid champion for you to consider going for during the Ancient Shards. But remember, we have good deals possibly coming up for Black Friday, so don't spend all your money. Be careful, spend your money wisely. And with that said, Thunder, thank you very much for letting me log into your account and showcase this champion. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys got any suggestions for future showcase videos, let me know down below, and I'll catch you all in the next video.